continuing with the laws of Chanukah. We're on Tuf Reish Ayin Zayin, which is 677. We'll start from the beginning. We're talking about a guest, someone who's traveling on Chanukah. We're going to talk about that in the next couple of times. We're not going to do every Mishnah Berurah here because it kind of gets very technical, but we will summarize and get to the final halacha. Try your best. A guest that they're not lighting for him in his house. Someone who's traveling is going to somebody else's house. So we're going to learn that in certain situations, let's say a husband is going away, his wife will light in the house for him. In certain situations, we'll talk about that more maybe next time. The place that he's staying at, let's say he doesn't have his wife lighting for him, he should give a pruta, a small amount of money, to the owner of the house, so that he can be part of the Chanukah lights that the owner of the house that he's staying at is lighting. Now, let's say v'im yesh lo pesach pasuach. Now this la'atzmo tzarich lahadlik bepischo. Afal pisha oso bayis einam yuchad elo l'sheina v'hu ochel al shulchan ba'al habayis. V'hu adin leben ha'ochel el tza'aviv. Now this really doesn't apply anymore. This was back in the day when people would light outside of their homes. He says here that let's say you're staying at somebody's house and you're eating all the meals with the owner of the house, but you have a separate entrance to the place you sleep. So the Shulchan Aruch says that you should light yourself a menorah in the place where, outside of the place you sleep, in front of the door. And the reason is because people who are walking by will say, "Hey, why is that guy doesn't have a menorah lit? Why isn't he doing that?" So it's an order that people shouldn't say that this guest who has a separate entrance, even though he's having all the meals with the owner of the house, he should nevertheless light over there. But this really doesn't apply anymore because we don't light outside. And the same thing is for a son who's eating by his father. Now the Ramah says, this is for us, V'yeshomer, there are those that says, the Bizman Hazeh nowadays, Shemadlikin b'fnim mamish, yadlik b'makom she'oichel v'chein nagu. Nowadays that we light inside the house, when you light, you should light in the place that you eat, and that is the custom. So, let's do some of the Mishnah Berurahs, and we'll explain. So we talked about a guest, that one of the options is a guest can give a pruta to the owner of the house. He can give some money to the owner of the house. So says the Mishnah Berurah, the guest doesn't have to pay for half the candles. Just the pruta, which is about 2 cents or maybe 8 cents. Because of that, he takes possession of a part of the oil. There are some rabbis who say that the owner who's lighting for this guest, he should add some oil to the amount that he would usually do. Usually he would just go for a half hour. He should add a little bit of oil to cover his guest. Or what the owner could do is he could be makna, he could gift some of the oil to the guest so that he has a part of it. Now what he says here is that for a guest, if this is one option, what he can do, he can give a certain amount of money to the owner of the house and have the owner light for him. Or what's better to do is he should have his own menorah. He should have his own menorah in light with the family that he's staying at. And that's really the best course of action. Okay. Now, another interesting thing here is we're not going to go into it too in depth, but one of the issues here is that one of the reasons a guest would have to light, because if you remember, technically according to the letter of the law, only one person in the household needs to light. But one of the reasons a guest needs to light is say if he has a separate entrance, people will think that he's not lighting Hanukkah lights. So there are those poskim that say that nowadays that people light inside the house, it looks bad if the guest also doesn't light inside the house because people will think that he is not lighting. But the Magen Avraham says we don't have to be worried about that. He only has to be worried about if he has a separate if he has his own separate room. If he doesn't have a separate room, he doesn't have to be worried about that. But again, so he writes again that the best procedure, if you're a guest at someone's house, is to light your own menorah with them. Okay, fine. That was now it says here the now you light where the place that you eat. There's a big debate amongst the poskim in many scenarios. What is the main place of your residence? You have to light you have to light the Hanukkah menorah in a place of your residence. What's the main residence? So is it the place you sleep or the place you eat? So here the Mishnah Berurah says the main place is where you eat. Let's say, now what we've been talking about thus far, we're talking about when you're spending a day, spending the night at your friend's house, you're eating with your friend, you're spending the night there, so you like the menorah there. But what if you're eating by your friend and you have you have a house, you're going to Florida, and you have a house and condo in Florida, and you're going to your friend's house to eat. So what should you do? You have to go to your condo and lighten your condo. And let's say you don't want to go from the place where you're eating. It's like you should tell your wife to lighten your house there. Nevertheless, it's better to do it yourself. Now this comes up, these halachas are very relevant for someone in yeshiva. Where does a yeshiva bacher light? A yeshiva student or someone in seminary. So there's a discussion between the poskim if they should light in the dining room of the yeshiva or the place where they sleep. And it seems like the Rabbi Ribiat says that most poskim seem to say, I believe he said dining room, don't quote me on that. But in Ner Yisrael we lit in the, I believe he says the place you sleep, most people say. But in Ner Yisrael we lit in the dining room, many people light in the dining room. And he writes, obviously you should do what the policy of the yeshiva is. Okay, so just to summarize, someone who is going to be a guest at someone's house and sleeping over for Hanukkah, the best course of action is to light a separate menorah for himself, but technically he can fulfill the mitzvah if he gives some money to the owner of the house and be included in his lighting of the Hanukkah lights. Next time, God willing, we'll talk about more. What if someone is leaving their home, not for the night, but just leaving a little bit, and they're going to be home late, things like that, and if someone's going on a business trip during Hanukkah, maybe he'll be on a plane. What's the procedure there? And we'll talk more about if one's wife lit for him and he's lighting himself, does he make a bracha? We'll hopefully get into that. And we've been discussing thus far if someone's wife is not lighting for him. Okay. Please have a great day.